Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life at scavengerlife.com. This is episode number 135, and we are talking about what's going on in our week. This week.
In our store this week.
What am I talking about? Yes.
What's happening in our week this week?
Yes.
Okay, so I just feel like we've been traveling a lot. And
you feel like it because we have been traveling a lot.
Yeah, so it's like the end of July, and basically from the beginning of June, we have not been home but maybe a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but this is probably the slowest week we've had since I can remember. We sold 30 items for about $1,000.
Yeah, that's really low.
So we average, about $36 an item or so, and that's much less. That's like half as much as we normally make.
Right.
And we couldn't survive like this.
No, that's too low.
If this was it.
Yeah.
I think everything might be ruined.
I don't think so. I think because we haven't been listing, it is the summertime.
Yeah. All kinds of things. We honestly, in the past 2 months, have not listed that much.
Not much at all.
So,
yeah.
In one sense, it's sad because it's slow and this isn't good. And, if we always sold like this, we couldn't do this full time.
Right.
Because that's $1,000 before fees.
Right.
So you got to, take off 17% off of that. That goes directly to eBay and PayPal.
Yeah.
And then, the cost of the items. So anyway, then on the other hand, you can see, I think it's also kind of amazing that we have not listed much in 2 months, but we've consistently been selling. And this is a very slow week for us, but most weeks the past 2 months have been fine.
Yeah.
And that goes to our strategy of having a large inventory. So you can stop its listing for a while and you just keep on selling.
Right. Yeah. And part of it too is I have family members coming to visit us to help us do some stuff with the rental house. So you and I are double timing photographs. So I'm photographing and you're writing titles and doing the measurements. So then I'm not listing. Right. Whereas normally you'd be doing the photographs and sort of getting through it. But we're just really trying to clean up our office because that's our guest room too. So we're trying to get through that stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes it hard.
I'm sure maybe like a lot of you, there's just been a glut of inventory that we've been able to buy from yard sales and estate sales, and just we have so much stuff and so much good stuff.
So much stuff, yes.
Which is the best problem to have.
Right. It's kind of like you always say, a luxury problem, but it is as we always talk about, taking the time to really organize it, go through it, get it listed. That's the hard part. So. And
also this week we haven't really sold very many high dollar items. It seems like this summertime we've been doing really well selling things that will sell for $300, $500, which is really, we say it kind of casually, but that's pretty incredible for us. For people,
it's great because it boosts the numbers for the week. 1 or 2 big sales, you're like, great, that's $1,000 right there.
So I think maybe one of the things is because we've been, only probably about 20% of our store is over $100.
Right.
So, because we've been selling so many of those items that maybe there just isn't enough for people to find to buy,
What I have been selling consistently this last week was perfume.
Yep.
I don't know what.
Perfume and playing cards.
I was just about to say that. Perfume and playing cards, it's I can't sell them fast enough. I have a ton more perfume, so I hope a lot of it sells, and a ton more playing cards. And now I'm just those are my 2 things. They're great because they're so little.
Yeah.
But I sold, it was a quarter of a bottle of Chanel No. 5, that's the only time I've ever found Chanel perfume. And I think it sold for $50, $60 for a quarter of a bottle. That's amazing. It was I would say half an ounce or something.
And it's most of the perfume we have has just come from a couple of estate sales where you've gone in where the woman had all of her stuff and you just bought the whole thing, a lot of it, and they gave you a couple bucks each.
Right, basically $2 to $3 each for a bottle, which is good if you can get 50, 60 plus, for them. So I have fun with those. I never in my life have worn perfume, so I don't know anything about that stuff really, except brands. You see a designer brand and you've got to get it.
Yeah, I think it's funny that we sell a lot of stuff that we never use. Or
but other people do. So.
Yeah, it's not hard. But going back to having a lot of inventory, I think it's funny. I remember in the first couple of years where we were selling, and we really just depended on this one store in our town where we bought all of our inventory. I was always afraid that one day we would go there and it's nothing else to buy, And
we come out of there with bags and bags and still bags and bags and bags.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I was always afraid of just like what happens if it all just disappeared, and
right.
And really the problem, if you're like us, is just there's just too much stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's the opposite.
It's
almost.
the opposite.
There's too much. We have too much stuff in our house. Too much stuff in storage.
Yeah. So I think, and it's not a bad thing. I think we've been doing this long enough that this feels very normal. But it's always about balancing. And lately, it's just been a lot of traveling and a lot of buying inventory.
Yes.
And now we have to go the other way and start just doing a lot of listing.
Well, the great thing is, we are going to be traveling for a couple different jobs and a wedding very soon in a couple weeks. But the cool thing is when we're traveling
in September, right?
In September. Yes, it's September.
So
You're right.
Month, yeah.
1 month. Yes. So we have a month to do stuff. But the cool thing is when we're in between jobs, it's kind of our in quotes vacation time, and that's when a lot of times I'll list. Is when I have downtime and I'm just in a cafe, and I can just hang out and just, do a day, and then we go out at night to, do something fun. And really, I don't mind doing that because it feels very productive.
Yeah, I love when you do that.
Oh, God. Yeah, yep.
No, but it's good. I really, again, I just really have to stress that the strategy we have works for us, and that's maintaining a very large inventory. And I have to remember, even though this is an incredibly slow week where it was always like this business would fail, but that we have been consistently selling this a summer, even though we don't do what we preach, and that's list 20 things a day, and we haven't been doing that, but we still keep selling, and that's great
because we have that backlog.
Right.
Exactly. I think that's very helpful when you're busy with other things. So hopefully this week we'll pick up. I'm hoping.
Yeah. I mean, the other interesting thing was, so a lot of the yard sales we go to are just kind of by happenstance,
right,
where you just drive around, going to other places, and you run across a yard sale. And I remember that one we went to this past week.
Yeah.
It was at this, she's probably about your age, that girl.
Yeah, she's about my age.
mid-30s.
They just had a baby last year.
And she had a yard sale, and it's like my nightmare, a yard sale, where you go in there, and she's not poor.
She's got a nice house with a pool.
They have a nice truck and a nice car.
Yeah.
But everything in her yard sale was Walmart junk.
Yeah, there was nothing.
It was just
nice.
Chotsky. Nothing was older than 5 years old.
Baby clothes.
Yeah. Just little knickknacks that people put on the shelves.
I found this box that had, it said that it had designer kitchen glasses in it. They looked beautiful and whatever. And I was like, oh, it's only $5. Always got to open the box, because I opened the box and it was basically the stuff they pulled out of their kitchen when they bought those glasses. So all the random, gross glasses they put in there. So I was so sad. I'm like, the one thing I want to buy isn't actually what it is.
Yeah. But that's just my nightmare is that's what the future's going to be. People our age don't buy the kind of stuff that we all like to buy.
Right. And like you say, people our age put their money into their computer, their iPhone, their car.
Their car, right.
They have a pool, so they put, thousands of dollars
vacations
into that.
or
all
something.
That stuff.
Yeah.
So they're like, I don't have a Chanel handbag. Not here. I mean, in New York, in DC,
right.
I mean, those are the places where, people buy a Chanel handbag or whatever. But, it's just different demographics. But the good thing is we have that nightmare. We see those sales, and yet we have a crap load of cool mid-century vintage, art, furniture, whatever. We still find it all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, there's like an auto, like a car, it's repair place, and it's just one of the places where they do multiple things. And one of the things is they have like a shed on their property, and on Fridays
they have a yard sale.
woman or the wife, I guess. It looks like they buy maybe storage lockers, and then they just lay everything on tables.
And we found great for nothing. I found 2 like vintage, designer. They were like Etienne Auger, handbags or whatever, but they were from the 60s and 70s, and they were buck.
I found a flare gun.
And
a fire safe,
How much do those flare guns go for? 50, 60 bucks?
50, 60 bucks.
It was only like $1, right? It was like $1 or something.
It was a bundling where we just put everything in a pile.
Gave him $5.
And the guy just says,
$5. So there are sales like that where, they bought a storage locker. They don't give a crap about what any of it is. Just they want to make $50 that day in cash or something,
But I will say, so, we've been working together to take pictures. And that's very nice because normally I do it. It's myself. Right. And it's really nice working together because it goes so fast.
Yeah, it does. Like yesterday, I took how many pictures of stuff?
About 26 items.
26 high dollar items.
Yeah, and we, and the way we do it is probably like a lot of you do it. It's not taking your phone and just snapping a couple pictures. We clean them. We take multiple photos. We're writing descriptions, and we measure everything because that's what you just got to do.
And then we put it all in storage.
Right.
Organize it and put it where it's supposed to go, basically to get it right now out of our house, because this stuff was just a lot of times with high dollar items we will put it in our house because we want to get those processed quickly, because we want to list high dollar items, fast.
Right, because I'm sure we do like a lot of, as you guys do, where, we'll have boxes of stuff and we
basically cherry pick them, right?
Right, we pull out the stuff we think is going to sell for over, it's $50, and that's the stuff we do first. And then in the winter time is when I pull out the bins of stuff of like the lower dollar items when there's no yard sales, and I'm so excited about the winter time when there's nothing to do. It's like I don't know if I could live in a place where it was like yard sales 24
all the time, like in sunny LA.
Seriously,
yeah,
it's like,
you need that downtime.
Seriously.
So
Ryan has mentioned that we're fixing up this house. We're going to do a vacation, a rental, and it's mentioned this. So we've been using the profits we've been making from eBay, selling old shoes and junk, and we've been putting it into a real estate property.
Yeah.
And and that stuff makes us feel good that we aren't just wasting its money, but we're investing it
into another business, basically.
And one of the things we've been doing is, I feel like such a yuppie, but we've been having homemade furniture made.
Yeah, we have this carpenter that we work with, and we've just had a bunch of like outdoor furniture made, and we have some indoor furniture being made right now.
And let me give you some context to it. I mean, one of the things, we talk about the things that excite us. And one of the things that excite us is scavenging.
Yeah.
And we scavenge stuff for eBay, but we also scavenge stuff for like this home. So we've been scavenging old, like heartwood pine wood or this old oak, where I'll go on Craigslist and guys are just emptying out a barn and they're just basically almost giving it away.
Yeah.
And so we'll have these stacks of wood, and we've been getting this friend of ours who's a really good carpenter to make like furniture that we design.
Yep.
Like that desk that we made out of this old Civil War oak beam. It's
gorgeous.
It looks like it's out of a magazine.
It looks like it's out of a magazine, and the cool thing about it is it looks rustic and old, but it's brand new, just made last week. Like, it's just so neat.
And plus it's kind of modern looking, the way that we asked him to build it.
Well, the cool thing too is
clean, and
it's really exciting when you have an idea for a piece of furniture and you could search for that piece of furniture. We live out in the sticks, so it's almost 2.5, 3 hour drive to go buy furniture in the city. And so it's cool to be like, okay, I have this idea. It fits for this very particular space right here. I want it this tall. I want it this wide. I don't want it, basically we made a little desk for someone just with a laptop. It's not any wider than that. It's just you and your laptop, nothing else. And because that's how we work. So if anyone's coming to do work at this house, they just need a little tiny desk, to put their coffee and put their laptop. And he made it beautifully. It fits exactly the width of this picture window. It's so great because, that's a piece that will stay there for a long time.
And basically it costs us about $600.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's, which I would
That's a
never,
bit much.
which I would never pay.
Right.
But if you think about what handmade quality furniture is, if you buy it at a store, it's super expensive.
Yeah, and the great thing is...
And plus it's for real. Like, this is like the real deal old wood, not that fake
wood.
Restoration hardware where they're making it out of kind of like faux old wood. Yeah.
Well, and a piece of furniture like that can really make a room.
Yeah.
If someone sits at that, they're like, wow, this is really beautiful,
And to go all hippie here, it makes me feel good that this is how we can spend our money because we like this guy, this carpenter.
Yeah.
And he does really great work. And I don't know if anyone does carpentry work, but it's really hard for carpenters to find these kind of like handmade furniture jobs because most people don't want to do that. People just want to buy stuff that's already made. So he loves doing it. We feel good giving him
money. Exactly.
And
like I'd rather give him. Right. Granted, we are going to buy a couple things at IKEA in the next couple weeks, but I would rather give him the money than give IKEA the money.
Right.
The other thing, too, is because I do cringe at the price that we paid. When you said $600, because you were the one that wrote the check, I'm like, oh, damn, man. But, that's his time, and that's all.
It's more than worth it.
It's processing the wood and all this stuff. But... if we had bought, those tables at IKEA that are, they're not wood, they're, fake.
Well, it's wood, but it's just, white pine that they've kind of done something to make it look weathered.
So, things like that can get ruined very easily and cannot easily get fixed.
Right.
But a piece like this desk, is, will be passed down through generations. That is how sturdy this thing is.
Yep.
The wood is, solid, beautiful. So you're like, wow, I paid $600 for that. If you went to Restoration Hardware, that thing would be $1,800.
I think I just laughed because there are probably people hearing this who are not into wood and furniture like we are, and they're just
they're like, you crazy.
These people are really obsessed
ridiculous
with
people.
Wood furniture.
You should see our house. There's wood everywhere.
Yeah.
Tastefully.
Yeah. It's
not
nice.
like wood ceilings or anything.
But anyway, I just brought that up because I think it's good to be aware of that and just to talk about it. I mean, again, we have this eBay store and we have this lifestyle, not just so we can just pay our bills and be done, but just so we can spend it the way we want to spend it. And, I feel like we're investing it and all that stuff. It's good.
Yeah, I think that's something we always have to keep in mind where we have this lifestyle so that we can do cool things, not just so we can pay the bills and just watch TV.
Yeah.
Although we do those things, but okay. Someone named Greg who listens to our podcast sent us a way to view your defect rating.
Right. So he seems like a techie. He builds a software, I guess, and he built this a service. It's free, and I'm going to link to it from the blog, and it's cool. It kind of reminds me of stuff that we've done in the past. It's like a little hack, or I don't mean that in a bad way, but he just kind of built it himself. And so you can download from your eBay user. There's a file, a CSV file that gives you all your
defects,
and it's very hard to read the way eBay gives it to you. So he did this thing where you can just upload it, and then he has a viewer, so you can just scroll through each item, and it shows you the photo of the item and the name of it, and then tells you why it had a defect on it.
Right. Yeah, because the way that they show you on the spreadsheet and on their website, it's just the item number. Right. Doesn't say the username.
It doesn't link.
Yeah,
it doesn't even link to it, so you have to copy and paste it.
And look in your email what the item number was. So it's like eBay. You have the data. You're giving me the data, but you're not giving me all the data.
And it's so crazy because the guy is like, this probably whipped it up. I mean, I'm just going to take a guess in a good day. You know? And it's just
It's
like,
just
why
so
doesn't eBay have something like
crazy,
this?
yeah.
Like, they should hire this guy to do
I know,
stuff
they
like
should
that.
use this tool.
And then the only other problem is that if you're being judged by your past 12 months, and I hate this about eBay, after 90 days, all that information's gone. So when you get past items that are 90 days old, you know, he can't pull any info,
Right.
so it's kind of a pain in the ass. And it just, again, makes me so angry that eBay made a decision a long time ago to stop giving you info after 90 days. And then I guess it's a business model for them. And then they sell that archived info to
WorthPoint.
To a WorthPoint or Terapeak or probably anyone that wants to buy it. And then they build
a subscription service around it,
which could be $20 to $30, so you can then search farther back. And it just seems very strange. You would think, like, I can't imagine eBay, a multi-billion-dollar company, makes that much its money selling that info. It seems like they could give that as an added bonus to a seller, and maybe it would just go to a seller that has a store subscription.
Right.
So it is a little bit of an upsell, but I just feel kind of always really cheated that they don't do that.
They don't give you more data. Yeah, like I was looking on WorthPoint and just trying to see how, I don't subscribe, but I just did like a free trial because I wanted to look up some of this artwork that we're going to be selling and stuff like that. But it's just crazy. It's just like they don't give you that much more information other than in 2005, this thing sold for $700. You're like,
right,
eBay couldn't give me that information? That's so crazy.
Yeah, and we've always felt that we can get by on just 90 days of info.
Right.
So when I type in a search term and I look at sold items, there's always enough info where if I got 12 months of info, it might be a little bit better, but I can get the general idea.
Right.
But it would be nice to have that info without having to pay, again, $20 or $30.
Yeah,
it's
WorthPoint
really
is
ridiculous.
the minimum WorthPoint subscription is $20 a month.
Right.
That's so much money for a seller like us.
Yeah.
It's just like, geez.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah. Wow, we just did like a whole rant.
Let's not rant anymore.
The comments in the blog have been really good this week. A couple of things have popped out. People have been talking about different ways that they sell on eBay. Like,
right.
I mean, we definitely have our own way, and we talk about it. And this is, again, I always try and stress that this is not some podcast or blog where we're trying to teach people how to do their store. This is more just documentation of how we do our store.
Right.
And we have our own strategy, about having large inventory and buy it now with make offer. And that's just what we do. So people have been talking about different ways. It's been these anonymous people, but like one guy says that he finds that he can buy stuff on eBay and sell it on eBay instead of going out and digging around and finding stuff.
So instead of going out and digging around and bringing stuff back and, all the things that we do, he is taking that time and searching through eBay for what James says, undervalued items.
Yeah, and he says he can find like a pair of leather wingtips, like men's wingtips.
Yeah. He
says he can find them for $5 with shipping might cost him $15, and then he sells them for $50 plus. And,
right.
That's $30 profit right there.
Exactly.
Like that's good.
Yeah.
I kind of challenged him to ask him, if he could do that consistently and enough to run a full business. But I guess he says he still does go out and scavenge, but he does that a part of his inventory, and that's interesting. I mean, it's just another way. It's still time, it's still time to have to
it's just a different way to spend the time.
And we actually did that experiment 3 or 4 months ago where you got into napkin rings for a while.
Oh yeah, I was buying because people buy these napkin rings. It sounds so ridiculous. Not napkin rings. It's they're called placeholders. Because people buy them for weddings, mostly for weddings or special events, whatever. I just found that there are a lot of people selling really cool vintage ones for very little money.
And placeholders are like these little metal things that would sit in front of a person's placemat, and then a card would go in.
Yeah, to say who's sitting there. Right. So that's like a whole, if anyone's ever been to a wedding or had their own wedding, you've seen that before. Right. So if you can get a lot of like quite a few of them, of the same ones, because people want, matching ones and stuff. But so I've done pretty well with those, and like you said, napkin rings also.
But I guess the problem we found was most people, especially people that sell for cheap, the reason why you can get it cheap is they're throwing it on auction. Right. And you're hoping that you're going to be one of the few people who put a bid on there. But the thing is, auctions take time.
Yeah.
So someone's got a 5-day auction. Is you go in there and you either wait to snipe it, but you have to keep track of it. So it's like if you have 20 of these auctions that you're keeping track of, then you're always having to watch it,
right.
Wait to snipe it,
right.
Be willing to spend a little more than you thought you wanted to spend.
Yeah, it just, for me, honestly, what it came down to was it wasn't cheap enough.
Right.
Like, the price started getting like $8, $9, $10, $15. I'm like, $15. If I saw this in the store, I wouldn't pay $15 for it. So.
Even if you could sell it for $60, which it's tough when, like we said, we have piles and piles of stuff that we bought for $1. So
that I'm selling for $60.
I don't know, but this guy says he's in South Florida where they don't have enough stuff that he can find out there. So
that's interesting.
Just a different way.
Yeah.
There's another guy who, I'm always a guy who says you can't depend on Goodwill and Salvation Army to buy inventory because you go in there and coats like $12.
Yeah.
Shoes can be $5 plus. I mean, it's really gotten expensive. And, a guy on the blog gave a good long story about how he shops almost exclusively at Goodwills.
Yeah.
In a urban area, he says.
Wow, that's impressive, actually.
But, he says again, I have no way to tell people's his numbers. He says that he's sold 200 items this month already and has made $6,000 gross.
What?
And I don't know.
That is crazy.
I don't know if he's counting the price people pay to have things shipped, or that's just the cost of the items. And he said he spent about $750 on those items. So not quite sure about his numbers, but
I'd love to. So whoever that is, because a lot of people are leaving anonymous comments and not leaving their names or like ways to contact them. So I would love to see the breakdown of those numbers.
Yeah, but I can imagine that if you had like 4 or 5 Goodwills near you, and you were really like a bulldog, and went there almost every day when they were putting stuff out, even if they're selling stuff for a higher than what you normally see. Like he says, you can find quality items. Yeah. And we found that stuff.
Yeah. And he was saying electronics. A lot of times like vintage electronics, like old record players, old stereo systems, they are undervalued because people are like, this isn't the newest, Blu-ray player or whatever. And you're like, people want these vintage, tuners and stereo systems because they sound, different.
Or what happens is the person in that particular Goodwill that is pricing stuff, their specialty is shoes. So when they see electronics, they're like, I don't know,
$5. Yeah.
Or that's how we've been able to get some cool pieces of art because the people just don't know.
Yeah, they don't. They just think it's all junk.
So it's good to read stuff like that because we're just sharing our experience. It's our opinions, and people can do exactly the opposite of what we say and run a successful business.
I think, like you say, this is just what works for us, and we are always changing. I mean, we stick to our game plan usually, but there are times where I'm like, hey, I tried to, I bought this weird thing that I never bought before and it sold like crazy, like friggin' playing cards. What? I would never, ever buy playing cards, unless it was a mistake, which it was, and it's been amazing.
And now, as we've learned, there are people that buy them and then sell them individually. Because people, I guess, have it's kind of like sports cards. I guess they have these binders with
and they call them
holders.
Swap cards.
Right.
In Australia, it's a big thing, and they call them swap cards. That's what one of the listeners told us. So that's cool. I never knew that, you know? So it's interesting.
And that's what I think a lot of eBay businesses are built on, is that you're finding the things at these groups of collectors.
Yes.
These really these small eccentric group of people who collect very specific items. These are items they can't buy at Amazon or Walmart or anywhere.
It's basically
it's
at
us.
eBay.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have it, they are looking for it.
Right.
So that's always fun to find those weird little corners of the collectors.
Very cool. So that's pretty much it for our week. again, much of this week is just going to be taking photos
Yeah.
and getting through our stuff like we've been talking about. But we keep talking about it because that's what has to happen, and it doesn't just happen overnight. It's
the unglamorous life of listing on eBay.
Yeah, so when people write us, and it seems like it happens, more and more, people are like, I'm getting swamped. I've got too much stuff, and I'm just like, this is it. Like, we've been doing this for a while. It doesn't get any easier. It doesn't, there's no shortcuts. It's like we're doing exactly what the person that's starting out on day one is
doing the same thing.
You have a pile in front of you, and you take a photo of it, and you write a description, and you put it on eBay. You take another one, and you do it again. I mean, that's
how
it.
you do it.
I mean, there's no way around it, and
that's just it. Yep.
So so the next podcast we're actually going to, since we haven't been answering people's questions that have been mailed in for the past several weeks, we have a whole backlog, and we're just going to do a whole episode of answering people's questions, and hopefully it'll be interesting because people are always coming up with cool things that we have never really thought about.
Yes, there's a nice variety of questions, so we'll get through those.
Cool. See ya.
Bye.